Welcome to Power Up, the podcast that uncovers the unique challenges women leaders face today. Join your hosts, Nat and Kristen, as we dive into the tough topics and provide actionable insights you can apply right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
My favorite personality test was one that I did, probably like 30 years ago with some of my best friends. And it was the bird one. So you're like an owl or a peacock or a dove. And I really loved it. And it reminded me when we did another one recently, how these tools are so helpful for helping us realize things about ourselves and others. And that it's also kind of a big industry, right?
Yeah. Can I first ask, what bird were you?
I was a eagle peacock.
I totally get the peacock thing. Nat, everywhere we go, Nat needs claps for everything she does.
Yeah.
We have to So I get the eagle thing, the scanning, the above everything, the checking at opportunities and above. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, the birds are actually really good. What I did learn during it is I am not a fan of a dove. I suppose eagles eat doves. Doves are your classic peacekeepers. However, one of my besties is a dove, and she's the only dove that I've ever been able to really connect with because I usually really struggle with people who are conflict avoidant in the moment and therefore create a lot more conflict over time because they like pretend everything's fine when it's not. And yeah, now I've realized, like, it's funny how, yeah, a bird can,
But back to that's so funny. Back to original point, question is that yes, this is they're everywhere personality tests. They are a billion-dollar industry, and companies pay good money to understand why their employees can't get along or to test people as they come into their organization. And my first personality test that comes to mind was actually in New Zealand, and I remember moving here and it being all the rage, and I feel like I was applying for jobs here, and I feel like I had to take all these IQ/personality tests, and I found it really frustrating. I was like, "I have to spend all this investment and all this time," and I remember multiple interviews and tests, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this isn't for the CEO role, people." But, I've been here for some time now. It is normalized. I'm not suggesting they're not done overseas, because of course they are. But that was my first experience was here in New Zealand, which was really funny. But
you
anyway.
may have arrived at the peak personality test time because I know to be fair, Dad was being hired into CEO roles, but his last few, he said, I learned how to game them. Like he said, like everyone was using the same one. So you're like, what person do you want? Okay, great.
I
No,
did
I
I
don't think
think
he ever gamed them, but he said it was really easy to like kind of understand what people are looking for when you did so many of them all the time.
I know, and speaking of, I didn't look at the history of where they came from, but it makes sense to me that, military, CIA, because at the time, this peak personality time when we were leaving Canada for New Zealand, I had a friend that was being interviewed into I don't know what it's called, the Secret Service of Canada, and, she told me about some of the tests they were putting her through. It was incredible. So there's a history there. But anyway,
We also
um
we did which is the one we did a couple of years ago back at Hatch, and we found out that 3 out of 4 of us had that was the, like, ENTJ one or whatever it is, the all those different letters, and that 3 out of 4 of us had a particular one in common that meant that we were methodical, that we would project plan, we'd step by step through, and one was a really do a big bunch of stuff at the start, sort of stop and get lost in the middle, and then a race to the finish. And that we all went, "Huh."
Now we get it. Well, that was the Myers-Briggs from what I recall, and many people will know that, but I think there's also the 16 personalities that is a more friendly take on it, and they even have things like I think I remember I'm Michelle Obama, as part of my 16 personalities, which is
Oh my
really
gosh,
just
I
a
was Barack.
oh, oh, no. Oh my gosh, no wonder we're together. Anyway, that I think so Myers-Briggs, 16 personalities, and the one that I recall being formative once I finally did get a job in New Zealand was DISC, and I came out hardcore D, as you might imagine, a little bit towards
Wait, what does D stand for?
dominant. And then I is kind of inspiration storyteller, so I was kind of hardcore D towards the I, and I always wondered why I wasn't getting along with the CTO at the time, and it's because he was the exact opposite of the disc, which was, very different way of navigating and seeing the world. So I think they are useful in how you work with others, understanding your style, maybe where conflict can arise, how you'll clash, any gaps, and then what you can do about it, which I think is fabulous.
I completely agree.
Yeah, yeah, we'd always wondered though, Nat, on a given day, like if we were to take a test now and then tomorrow, or maybe in 2 weeks, how much do you think it changes?
I don't know if it changes that quickly, but I do think it changes, like, if you're in an organization, and I think we've seen this a lot over the last couple of years, where they may have been really operational and you don't know what the strategy is and you don't know where it's heading and it feels um, everything's uncertain. I suspect you start to value and prioritize certainty and strategy and know a little bit more. So I think there is contextual, like you do see it with people. And then I think over time, as you get more experience in life and work, I suspect that also probably changes a bit. But my understanding is, and like all of these things, they're science based, but nature, nurture, etc., is that most of the time, and this is what I find so fascinating about them, you are answering quite quickly. And every time I answer, I'm like, these normally are pretty obvious answers. And then you find out just how fundamentally different everyone is because they gave a very different answers.
I love it. Yeah, I agree, and I do think seasons of life, to your point, you can shift, taking because I know or the one we're gonna chat about today is called the business chemistry one, and we'd really encourage people to take it. It's going to be in the show notes. It's free to take, gosh, maybe 5 minutes, and this one is, a great one if you are in business with someone, working closely with someone, of course, in working in a really tight team environment where you need to navigate other people and their decisions and their communication styles a lot. This is a great one to take. We love the strengths one for looking at our individual strengths and personal brand, but this one in particular is actually about the chemistry you might have with a business partner or a close colleague or even your manager actually for that or your team member for that matter. But, I think different seasons when I redid the test last night, because I couldn't remember which, order mine came in, I thought, "I would have answered this very differently 15 years ago." So I think that changes as well. Not every question, but some of them. So, anyway, here we go. Should we talk business chemistry? And what we're going to do is take everyone through the four, I don't know, archetypes of this test. We're not looking to put people in a box, but as we describe these four archetypes, we'd love for you to go, "Ooh, I think that's me." Do you see yourself in them? And then as we describe these archetypes, do you see close colleagues or business partners in these archetypes as we read through them? That's the point of this exercise.
Well, the thing that is quite interesting about this, 2 things. One, if you are listening in a place that you can go do it now, I would say pause and go do it now. It's like a 5-minute 5? It's like 20 questions, it's not much. The second thing I love about this one is, like you say, it's the chemistry, it's the interaction. So it's actually designed not just to do on yourself, but to do on the people around you, which therefore helps you understand, like, "Oh, when I do this, they interpret it like that," or when they do this, it actually means this. And it really helps you get out of your own way of thinking and acting and really looking at the people around you. So, unlike a lot of other personality tests, I think this one, the interactivity of it and how it informs how you communicate and behave around other people, I think is really valuable. But while I think, yes, please pick and think about who you might be, do the test because often we have an idea of who we are and who other people are, and doing the test is a helpful way of maybe challenging that bias as well. Because I think if I read these descriptions, I probably would have picked us both from them, but I think it was nice to come in cold and find out what they were through doing the test and then kind of going, "Oh, what does that mean?"
Agreed. Great call out. So we're not gonna share what we are immediately. Let's go through all 4, and then we can kind of reveal what our test results were, but
The
I think that's a
grand
great call out that
reveal.
we yeah, that we then did them on, each other, and celebration, it was right on all accounts. Like, our self-awareness and awareness of others, was, really nicely surprising. So anyway, we'll get to that.
We are Barack and Michelle Obama, so we do know each other quite well.
That's true. Okay, Nat, take it away with the first one.
We have the pioneer, the risk taker, big picture thinker. So this person is the first to volunteer for projects, for new things. They get bored easily. It says once the exciting bit is done, but I presume well, I'm reading some notes, but I think it's also when they know something. Like they're not a like I want to stick and do the same thing over and over again. Once I've learned it, I'm moving on to the next thing. Meetings for meeting's sake, ugh. Reading boring big documents, ugh. But like interacting, ideating, talking it out, brainstorming with people, they're really into this. Have a lot going on. We've got notes saying 40 tabs open, and I'd say that's on your laptop and probably in your brain at any one time, at least 47 tabs, and probably have some half finished projects or a bunch of things that you start in the middle of the night or when inspiration strikes and then maybe run out of steam on them. Um, Very energizing, but sometimes it feels a bit all over the place. You're moving fast, you're doing lots of things, hard for people to keep up. You trust your gut, you hate being micromanaged, you think rules are guidelines.
So
So with this
how might we work? What are some do's and don'ts if anyone's like, "Oh, I know a pioneer." What might you do and what might you not do when working with a pioneer?
I like these do's and don'ts. So with this group, you want to tell them the what and you want to give them the what and the why, but let them figure out the how. And that means like, you know, that person who will come in and say, do this thing. This is the group that will be like, but why? What are we trying to achieve with it? I don't want to be dictated to how to do it. I want to figure out what it is and then solve it. Let them pitch ideas without shooting them down and bring them in early when you need creative solutions. So these are the problem solvers, creativity, innovative, blah, blah, blah. Don't, though, get them involved in admin tasks. That's that whole repetitive thing. When you figured it out, you are bored out of your brain doing it. And don't ask, have you thought through every scenario? They haven't and they won't. They don't expect this group to think linear, or perfectly format their emails.
That's good, that's a good one. I wonder if you fell into that category, Nat. Okay, let's move on to guardian. This is a practical, process-driven person, and of course, this is all putting people in a box, but it is helpful, so just bear with the process here of the archetypes. You're the one who actually reads the terms and conditions. You keep the team from walking off a cliff because you do spot the things that often others miss. Change for change's sake makes you a little bit, if it's not broken, why are we fixing it? Why are we kind of changing things up here? You have a system for lots of stuff. It can drive pioneers mental. People rely on you to remember things, super dependable, detail orientated. You follow through, you don't let the balls drop. So, in terms of what to do when you're working with a guardian who really appreciates pragmatic, process driven approach, is give them advance notice. These people need a little warming up when you're switching things up. Respect that their what seems on the surface as overthinking is actually risk management and taking in all sorts of data points and letting them synthesize those. Let them build the process and acknowledge that attention to detail is important and can save people's asses. Don't surprise them with pivots, real time pivots. Surprise! Don't dismiss their concerns as negativity or risk averseness. They're often seeing problems that you haven't spotted. Don't rush them through decisions just because you're impatient. So this one is about respecting the process driven individual who often the guardian will spot things that other people don't.
I love how the pioneer and the guardian are an obvious nice chemistry, and I think this is something you see all the time. There's the big ideas person and then the person who follows in behind and turning that into a process that everyone can actually do or something that becomes real. So I really like that this you can sort of see how those 2 work together. We've got the driver, the outcome focused, decisive driver. This group would rather make the decision and adjust it than sit in another meeting about the meeting. They're iterators. They're like, let's just keep moving forward and iterating and growing things. The small talk makes them want to scream. Just tell them what they need. They're competitive, even when no one else knows they're competing. They ask, "What's the point of this?" More than most people find comfortable. They love the 5 whys. Data and logic trump feelings. If the numbers say go, then go. So with this group, be direct, bring solutions, not just problems, show them the impact and let them drive. Their bluntness or directness isn't personal, it's efficient. So just it's cool to be direct with this group. Don't waste their time with fluff, long-winded explanations. What is it? Dilly-dallying. Don't take forever to make a call. Don't expect them to manage everyone's feelings in the process. So this is an interesting one with the guardian because a driver versus guardian, one group needs to have more time to really think things through, consider all the risks. The other one's wanting to move forward quickly. So you can see, I feel like between these two, there's a natural tension point there in the way of operating that I don't know. I feel like we've all seen this play out a lot in organizations.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fair. You know, one thing I noticed though, what we didn't address in this podcast, and that's cool because we can always do others, but maybe how you might temper some of those behaviors as these things. Maybe we can chat about that briefly because it's all good and well to be like do and don't, but also we need to like live and move and progress. So sometimes our own archetypes that might come out actually need to be tempered a little bit as well. But anyway,
Well,
just
I
kind of
feel like
noticed
before
that. So
we come on to the last one, I feel like that's the intelligence and EQ line over top of this. If you think about them as umbrellas over this. So, like, you can feel that innately, or that could be your tendency, but you have control over this stuff. So, that may frustrate you that someone is moving slower or moving faster, but you also can learn how to adapt to other people and what's correct in different situations. So, I feel like the point of doing these is to go, yeah, this might be my instinct, this might be my go to, but actually, I have the power and ability to adapt my behavior so that we ultimately, as a team, get further and get better outcomes.
especially if you know clearly what others are or that person you work very closely with, I think, absolutely great. Okay, fourth and final one is called the integrator, and this is the empathetic diplomatic. So this is the person that can sense tension in a room before anyone says anything, can pick up on those cues. This is the person that asks, how's everyone feeling about this and really means it. Conflict makes these people uncomfortable. They'd rather find compromise. They connect people, they remember personal details, they build bridges. Often they can see all sides of an argument, which can make decision making exhausting sometimes because they see multiple point of views. So with this one with dues is give them time to bring people along, value their emotional intelligence as actual intelligence. Let them facilitate when there's conflict brewing. Don't force them to choose sides quickly. Don't mistake their consensus building for weakness or being a pushover. Don't ignore the people side of decisions just because you want to move fast. So there's a real people strength that comes through with this one, which is clear.
Yeah, they're kind of interesting. I like the basics of 4, because I feel like they do kind of broadly group you, but I mean, like we've said a few times now, they're not gonna get everything perfect, but you will probably identify strongly with 1 or 2. Both of us are 2, a mix of 2. So, you may find that there's a little bit of a mix in there when you've done your test, but yeah, it's I feel like what I like about them is that the fundamental worldview is so different, and that means that when you're having conversations, we're often talking parallel to each other in a way that is wildly unproductive. So it's kinda nice to go, "Oh, yeah, when this happens, we're actually seeing very different scenarios."
Exactly. Okay, Nat, share what you got.
Um, I actually did check mine this morning 'cause classic. What did they say? Classic non-details person. I'm a pioneer driver. I was a combo of those 2. So big picture thinking, outcome focused.
Love it. And I was the exact opposite, which was integrator, guardian. And so for me, it's about diplomatic, which is very Canadian, and practical as a guardian. So we are effectively the opposite, which is ironically probably why it works.
Yeah, I don't even think it's ironic. I think that's the and, like, when one of the things we really enjoyed about doing this was that it really highlighted the causes of well, some of the causes of tension between us, and when you see it in black and white, you go, Of course, that's what it is. You care about this, I care about this, and we are talking at cross purposes. And those situations are relatively rare between us, but it is quite funny to look and go, "Oh, yeah." I also thought, was there anything about your results that you disagreed with? Because I had a couple that I really was like, "Oh, that's interesting." Um, Only 1 or
Well,
2
I
things.
would
One.
Yeah. I think the yeah, no. I think, there were just certain questions that I might have, I wasn't sure of the answer, like, am I a words person or a numbers person? I put words, but, like, equally, I like numbers, and so I didn't and I don't like saying "don't know" because, who I don't like going "don't know" on tests like this. And then the other thing was, I wouldn't have been a guardian per se, as much of a guardian, 10 years ago in my career. Like, I was, more of a driver and a risk taker and a pioneer, but I really find in this stage of life, I happen to be juggling lots of balls, I'm quite good at being a guardian, maybe I've adapted to it through raising a family, I have no idea, but I'm definitely more of something in this stage of life, but I wouldn't have seen myself in that at all 10 years ago. So I think that though I would have had attributes, of course, of order and process, yeah, so I agree with it now, yes, but I think these things can change.
Yeah, and I do think, yeah, I do think they can change. I feel like for me, the things that I found, like, the questions, I agree. I'm the same. Hilariously, we're the same. We're not halfway between people. We're like, "Pick an answer." And there were some that I think for both of us, I was like, "Oh, it's actually 50-50 on the line." But it was interesting that we both got to the same outcomes for each other and ourselves. Um, I feel like the half finished projects thing is interesting because in my life, people often point to me as the person who finishes everything while they leave things half finished. So I was like, that's interesting. And then the details focused, I'm like, I don't know too many people who are more details focused than me. It's just that maybe I don't like it as much. So I thought those were really interesting that they like really pointed out as things that I didn't like to do. And I was like, but I suppose this is the box thing that I was like, I don't think I yeah, I feel like I find it really hard to think big picture without the details, so I found that really interesting that yeah, to me, that was an oxymoron that you can do that, but
Yeah.
maybe that's what
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people do.
Maybe there's different sorts of details, who knows? Possibly, but if it's details with the big picture, maybe that's the thing as opposed to details with, I don't know, but yeah, the half finished things, that didn't strike me as you. That doesn't feel like it, unless you're writing stuff at 2 a.m. that I'm not aware of.
I mean, I'm never awake at
Anyway.
2 a.m. either, so that's probably
That's so
not help
true.
from that.
That's so true.
I think the other thing about being competitive, because I would have picked you as way more competitive than me, but I'm fiercely competitive with myself. So it's interesting I suppose the definition of competitive. I have extremely high standards for myself and am never satisfied. And then I'm like, I don't care about what other people are doing.
Yeah. So interesting. So interesting. I think this is what we'll do is we'll share again the link with this one. If you want to try others, we'll also share the 16 personalities. And then there's something called the disc, where if no one's ever done that, there is a free version of it. And we'll share that again, 123test.com. So we encourage you to do it with a business partner, your team, your manager, and share the results because what is helpful in doing is kind of giving you each language that first of all you couldn't articulate about why you feel strongly or why you operate in that way or think in that way, but equally why there might be friction points once in a while. You can stop taking friction personally. I think that was really powerful for us coming out of it. If and when we do disagree, we have language where we can just say, "Oh, this is a chemistry thing," rather than continuing to go down a rabbit hole of disagreement or get hurt feelings. It feels like we can easily just say, "This is a chemistry thing." We can chalk it up to just simply different styles and adjust from there or move on. Makes us aware of our own blind spots, and I think it's also interesting if you are a team where everyone is a driver, there are probably some, what would it be, attributes and strengths that are missing as part of that.
Yeah. Do you have anything you've changed? Like, because when I look through the do's and don'ts, there's definitely some things that I have clocked about things that I've changed over the years to adapt to people. And yeah, do you have any that you come to mind immediately? I'm happy to share mine first if you want a minute to
Yeah, go
think.
on, you share yours
Because
first.
guardian. You need
Yeah,
a
go I
minute to
need a
think.
minute. I need a minute. Go on. What
Well,
do
I think
you
one of them was that I've mentioned it before on the podcast before, where that was the first piece of feedback I think you ever gave me. It's like, "I need a minute to think." And so now I'm quite often same with Kyla, I'll say, "Here's what I'm thinking," and then just, like, leave it and walk out or do whatever and just leave because I think Kyla's probably quite a guardian as well. Um, so it's interesting to see how that, like, ties in. Weirdly, she's probably the most direct person I know, but in a very calm way, so, like, she's managed that really nicely. Small talk and the fluff at the beginning of emails, I really hate doing that. Small talk, uh, because I'm a driver, I'm like, "How do I use the small talk to drive towards a much more interesting conversation?" But with fluff at the beginning of emails, I'm like, "Suck it up and do it." And then I've put in place tools for things like remembering people's names and information about them. My brain just does not remember it. So I jot that down in a place so that I can quickly refer to it. Like I'll remember it when I see it. It's just like my brain does not have that Rolodex internally. So I use tools to make sure that it doesn't feel like I've forgotten someone when I haven't. It's just my brain doesn't do it the same way that maybe someone who is a what is it, an integrator would like you and Rach, who's one of our experts, she would just like she'll remember everything about everyone all the time. And I'm like, my brain doesn't do it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's right. I think for me, I'd probably be forced to go decision making faster than I normally would have, because I do genuinely see multiple sides, and quite often when I'm with a driver and there's I'm like, It's not a hill to die on." I'll be tipped into one side, and I just go with it. Like it's not important, even though I can see another side in another route, possibly. So I know I've had to flex that a little bit. I can't think of anything else top of mind. It's a great question though, because I think again, all of these, when I y in terms of that EQ piece of emotional quotient and needing to overlay that we still have to all navigate an environment that isn't just built for us and our personality types in mind. I think, there are probably all sorts of things that I've had to do and likely people listening as well. So, yeah, hopefully this was enlightening for most. We'd love to hear from everyone actually on this one. I might just drop a poll as to what are you inside. I don't know if it shows up in Apple, but certainly in Spotify, I think there's a little question that will say, what um, business chemistry archetype or whatever are you? And we'd love to hear from you on this one because it would be great to hear who's listening. Is there a common theme? Probably not, but curious.
It could actually be a fun thing to do with power suitors too. So, because I like it as a almost part of a community introduction of this is who I am or this is how I operate in a really nice way to kind of go, oh, okay, I can kind of understand what it's almost like what a lot of people are now doing on their intranets and Teams and Slacks channels saying, this is how I like to be communicated with, this is how I don't. So don't interrupt me halfway through something or, don't call me, just text me. It's sort of another one of those layers that just helps us go, "Oh, I get you a bit more," and it's just a nice shortcut.
Totally. Thanks, everyone. Check out powersuit.com. And again, just let us know where you landed on this. And we'll catch you all next time. Bye.